Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley, and Blake, if this will let him in. Pushing the button. There we go. There we go. Ryan, welcome. Oh, a freshly shaven Ryan Blake.
Clean shaven. Ryan? I'm doing all right. I'm a little more chilly. I don't have the comfort of the beard or the mustache to protect my face and keep me warm, but yeah, I don't know. I'm still in that phase where I'm hoping it'll grow back a little thicker than it was before. So every once in a while, I'll go to a clean slate.
I don't think that that's actually a real thing. I think that
probably not.
That's a myth. But
yeah, you're right. You're probably right.
Hey, go for it, man. You know, you're a nice looking man. So whether you have the beard or not, it's a good look for you. Yeah, that hip hop music. We're on this thing called Restream. We stream through this app called Restream, and they have these different music options. And I feel like the hip hop option has sounded a little different every single time. That time it sounded completely off key, like completely off key. Like boop, 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 boop. I'm sitting here. I'm like, what is this? But
it was a little strange, but yeah, better than nothing.
You know, better than nothing. That should be the tagline of the Baltimore Orioles the last 6 weeks. Better than nothing. Before we get into all of that, today's show brought to you by Royal Farms. Chicken Palooza continues at your neighborhood Royal Farms. This year's deal includes a 3-piece meal for just $8 and an 8-piece meal for just $12. Plus, you can go to royalfarms.com and enter for your chance to win chicken for a year. And while you're there, vote on your favorite charity as Royal Farms is donating 10 cents for every 3-piece meal during Chicken Palooza to the winning charity. And don't forget to get your Chicken Palooza gear to celebrate everyone's favorite season. Stop by your neighborhood Rofo today. Dude, this season is exhausting.
Yeah.
This season is absolutely exhausting. The Orioles had won 4 or 5 games. They're headed to Cleveland. I hate playing Cleveland. I do. I don't think I've enjoyed playing Cleveland since the 1996 ALDS. Like, I think that's the last time I liked playing this team. They've lost the season series now 6 of the last 7 full seasons. They go into the Cleveland winners of 4 or 5. They just taken 3 of 4 from the Blue Jays. Jackson Holliday made his second debut of the season and hit a grand slam 439-foot tank shot onto Utah Street for his first career home run. We're flying high. We're feeling good. And then 10-2, they lose the first game of this series with newly acquired starter Trevor Rogers on the bump. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Then they go out last night with Dean Kramer, who said he felt like he was back after his last start, even though, not his last start, but the start before that, even though he had given up 3 runs. And he puts up another dud. Kramer goes 5 innings, allows 6 hits, 4 runs. Carlos Carrasco, owner of a 5.68 ERA going into the game last night. 4 1/3 innings of 1 hit ball with just 1 earned run allowed, 4 walks. I believe he had 4 walks, 4 strikeouts last night. 5.68 ERA. The Orioles mustered just 1 hit off of him. And they have 4 hits for the game. They have 10 base runners for the game because they did walk 6 times. They did walk 6 times last night. Coby Mayo made his debut. He had 2 of those 6 walks. Jackson Holliday 2 for 3 with a walk, 2 singles, and a run. And Colton Cowser extended his hitting streak to 15 games with a base hit. But that was it. They had 4 hits for the entire game. They've lost 10-2, 8-4, lost by a combined 12 runs in the first 2 games of the series, completely losing all goodwill that they may have built up from winning 4 of the previous 5. Ryan, I don't think this is a very good baseball team right now. They've gone 16-21 in their last 37 games since that 17-5 victory over the Yankees on that Thursday afternoon. 16-21. And I keep getting told, oh, Brandon Hyde's doing a great job. This team's lost 3 starters and they're 19 games over 500. No, they're not. They're 5 games under 500 in their last 37 games worth of baseball. 17 more games, and they till you reach a third of the season, and they have to go 11-6 in those 17 games to get back to 500 for a third of the season. Yes, their record for the year is 19 games over 500. But since Kyle Bradish went down, they are well below 500. They're not a very good baseball team right now.
Yeah, it's been a pretty difficult stretch, and it starts with the pitching. I mean, especially over that stretch, they've been in the bottom third of the league in just about every major category. Just not what you want to see. The team is too talented to be playing like this. And, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week. That comes back to the manager. It truly does, especially when the fundamentals aren't there. We saw last night another botched rundown where we gave up a 2-run sac fly to Jose Ramirez because we were trying to get the runner between first and second. By the time we realized that the run was going to score, it was too late. Just poor fundamental baseball. Gunnar Henderson's defense at shortstop hasn't been great. And I will say, to Gunnar's credit, we've heard this from the broadcast team, talking to the players and coaches. Like, Gunnar is struggling defensively in a large part because he's trying to do too much. He's getting to a lot of baseballs that a lot of players don't get to, and then just making bad throws. He dealt with a few bad hops over the last homestand, a couple, short hops that were tough to get in. They couldn't get the glove on. The one ground ball that, took 3 bounces low, and then the last one right before it hit his glove jumped up and hit him in the elbow, I think. So tough defensively, tough offensively. The pitching hasn't been good. It's brutal, man. It's hard to watch. I think about Cleveland, and I believe it was 2021, maybe 22. The Orioles won back-to-back games against Cleveland 13-0 each game. That's
2019.
2019. All right, further back than I thought. In any event, that's just about the last time I've enjoyed playing Cleveland. Like you said, they always seem to have our number. They always seem to take a season series. And this year, they're one of the better teams we've seen in a while.
It was last year. It was on Memorial Day. The Orioles lost that game, I think, 15-2. And that was the day that Cedric Mullins popped his hamstring. Running down, trying to beat out a ground ball. I think it was like in the 8th inning of the ball game too. And Cedric was never the same player after that. It's playing Cleveland. It's just every time the Orioles play them, I know it's not going to go well.
Yeah, and especially coming into this series, I don't know. It was a little spotty for a second, but I think we're good. I have Emmanuel Clase on my fantasy team, and I'm hoping, if the Orioles are going to lose a game or two to Cleveland, at least let me get a save. And they've been blown out the last 2 nights. So I don't even get that benefit of losing to Cleveland. So, hard to watch all around. It's nice to see Coby Mayo come up. Nice to see Jackson Holliday producing for his second stint. Already has more hits in 2 games or 3 games this time around than he did in his, 9-game sample? 10-game sample the first time around.
He had as many hits last night.
Yeah. And pair that with the grand slam, and he's looking good. Looks a lot more comfortable at the plate. Rung up again on a terrible strike 3 call back-to-back nights. So that's tough to watch. A little hazing for the rookie. But, look, something's got to give, and this team just isn't doing it right now.
Yeah, they're just not playing good baseball. We'll get into the trades here in just a minute, but let's get back to Jackson Holliday. Coby Mayo got called up. He had a couple of walks last night. That walk in his first career at bat, he showed some great patience and a great eye in that at bat. I thought it was a phenomenal at bat, especially considering it was his first career big league at bat.
Yeah,
he worked the count full and swung at a pitch that I've seen a lot of veterans swing at. He just spat on it, took his walk down to first base, and then Jackson Holliday had an equally impressive plate appearance right after him to take a walk. And Holliday, I was 9 rows off the field behind the dugout. I actually walked by you. We said hello as I walked by you on my way to my seats at that game on Thursday. What's today? On Wednesday. Jackson Holliday, 439-foot grand slam. You're sitting there and you're watching him. It's 0-2. He had just fouled a high fastball straight back, and you're like, oh man, it's 0-2. This is a big moment for him. please just don't strike out. Please just don't strike out. And then the next pitch, he hits a majestic bomb onto Utah Street, becoming the youngest Oriole ever to hit a grand slam. And I don't know about you. As soon as it came off his bat, I jumped up out of my seat and yelled at the top of my lungs so hard that I almost passed out. Like, I legitimately got lightheaded and like had to grab a hold of the seat for a second. It was an amazing moment, an absolutely amazing moment. And then, Ryan, I have no doubts he was robbed of a home run by the umpires in his next at bat. He hit another 2-strike pitch deep down the line and left. From where I was sitting in real time, I said, that ball hit the line on top of the wall. That ball hit the line. It went to New York. Every view that I saw in the stadium, it looked like part of the ball was on the yellow line. But I guess they only had a pixelated view. I don't know how in 2024 you don't have the closest, clearest shots ever with every angle. Like, you could have, you can get clear images of a dude standing in his bathroom from a satellite. Google images from a satellite. And you don't have, with the hundreds of cameras that you have in a Major League Baseball stadium, you can't get closer than that pixelated view that New York apparently had, where they couldn't see if there was space between the line or not. So they just let the call stand. It was a home run. He should have had 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. That ball hit the line, in my opinion. But then he comes in last night with a walk and a great plate appearance, 2 base hits, and the most impressive base hit was off of Emmanuel Clase. Takes a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, turns it right back around, 100-mile-an-hour base hit right back up the box, up the middle. Jackson Holliday's here, man. He looks comfortable, way more comfortable at this point than he did any point in his first stint. The man's here, and I think he's up for the challenge.
Yeah, and even his first career hit was on a 99-mile-an-hour fastball that he drove through the first and second hole back in his first stint. So looks like he's not going to be the type of guy that struggles with velocity. 2 of his 5 career hits already are off of really hard fastballs. And to get one off Clase, the best closer in baseball right now, is pretty awesome. And then, Mayo striking out against Clase, his Major League debut, and he's got to face that guy. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So I'll give him a pass for that one, but good to see Holliday turn on one there. And hopefully this is a sign of things to come, because he really does look good.
Yeah, he looked the part last night. Coby Mayo looks like a big league ball player. Don't want to leave out Colton Cowser. Impressive hitting streak right now. He's on a 15-game hitting streak, and over that streak, he's slashing 386, 438, 649. That's a 1087 OPS. He's got 3 doubles, 4 home runs, 6 walks, and 14 RBIs during that 15-game hitting streak. 16 strikeouts too. But that Colton Cowser's going to strike out. That's just something he's going to do. But his home run, man, he does not hit cheapies. No, that dude hits absolute bombs, and they're always to like right center, and they always look like it's like 430 feet, and you're like, how is that not 475?
Right.
Like, they look like absolute tank jobs every time he hits a home run. So Colton Cowser getting hot. Now he's at the top of the order, batting lead off. We saw Rutschman lowered to the 5-hole last night. Gunner's been hitting third. I'll tell you what, for the Orioles, in those last 37 games we talked about, where they're 16 and 21, 17 times they've scored 3 runs or less. And right at the heart of that issue is Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman. Gunnar, he's been getting his hits, but he hasn't homered in a month. I think his last home run was, so it hasn't been quite a month. It's been about 3 weeks. His last home run was it right after the All-Star break? Was it an opposite field shot against the Yankees?
I don't remember exactly, but he's been sitting on 28 for longer than you would expect Gunnar Henderson to sit on a home run total. I mean,
Anthony Santander has homered 6 times since Gunner's hit his last. To take over the team lead with 32. Santander, another one, man. He's got 32 home runs. He's just 1 shy of his career high, and we've got basically 2 full months left in the season. So there's some really nice offensive parts, and you do feel like this team has the best talent that they could have on their active roster right now. It's got to translate. And that is a direct reflection of the pitching that this hasn't translated yet. And let's get into that here in just a minute. First and foremost, today's show brought to you by helpmygamblingproblem.org. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. All right, Ryan, trade deadline this past Tuesday at 6 p.m. Excuse me. We already knew that the Orioles had traded Austin Hayes for Christian Pache and Sir Anthony Dominguez. And then Matt Horvath, Matthew Etzel, and Jackson Ballmeister for Zach Eflin. I'm okay with those trades. I felt like those were a nice appetizer to what I expected to be the main course on Tuesday. Well, Tuesday's main course was like, in my opinion, expecting filet mignon and getting McDonald's. That's how I look at what the Orioles did at the trade deadline.
What's wrong with McDonald's, man?
Nothing, but are you getting a nice, thick 8-ounce center cut filet mignon cooked perfectly with a nice garlic butter on top? Or are you getting a processed meat patty with a slice of American cheese on top?
They both taste all right, depending on your mood.
Yeah, well, if your mood is for filet mignon, you don't want it. So
I'm just giving you a hard time. I agree with you completely.
The Orioles traded Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers to Miami for starter Trevor Rogers. And in the notes, you can see, point one, I hate it. I hated it then. I hate it now. Look, I'm not the type of person, despite what people may think. People think they know me based off my Twitter personality. You have no idea who I am. I am not an I told you so person. The last thing I want to do is say I told you so, especially when it's about a player that I didn't want, who I think is terrible, showing to be terrible. And even still, that one start for Trevor Rogers, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I told you he's garbage, because it's one start. It's the same thing that happened with, like, you look at Mike Lorenzen last year. He went 17 innings of 2-run ball his first 2 starts for the Phillies, including a no-hitter. And somebody was saying, oh, the Orioles should have gotten this guy. I'm like, it's 2 starts. He pitched so poorly the rest of the way that he was left off the Phillies postseason roster. Trevor Rogers, it's 1 start. Just like if he had gone out and thrown 7 innings of 1-run ball, you can't sit there and say, oh, this was awesome. Just like you can't say 4 1/3 innings of 5-run ball, he sucks, I told you so. It's 1 start. He had met Adley and Brandon Hyde 4 hours before the game. That's not really a ton of time to get to know your catcher, get a feel for them, and get a feel for the game plan. I'm willing to give him a pass on this. Does not negate the fact that the Orioles were down 5-1 in the 3rd inning with him on the mound. I cannot clear my throat. They were down 5-1 in the 3rd inning with him on the mound, and they lost that ball game 10-2. Doesn't negate that fact. And the Orioles gave up Connor Norby, their 5th overall prospect, and Kyle Stowers, who's a former 2nd-round pick, and Norfolk's all-time home run leader. They're both in Miami now. And Connor's in AAA for Miami, playing for the Jacksonville Shrimp. Is that what they're called? The Jacksonville Shrimp?
The Jumbo Shrimp.
Jumbo Shrimp. The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Also at the deadline, the Orioles picked up Gregory Soto from the Phillies for pitchers Seth Johnson and Moises. Is it Chase or Chase? To
be honest with you, I don't know.
I'm going to say Chase. Moises Chase.
That sounds more correct.
Yes. They picked up outfielder Austin Slater, and infielder Levon Soto, who they designated for assignment twice during spring training, from the Reds for cash considerations, and Eloy Jimenez from the White Sox for minor leaguer Trey McGuff. All told, the Orioles gave up a big league outfielder in Austin Hayes, their number 5 prospect in Connor Norby, their all-time Norfolk home run leader in Kyle Stowers, the number 8 prospect and 3rd-ranked pitching prospect in the system in Seth Johnson, the number 11 prospect in Matt Horvath, number 17 prospect in Jackson Ballmeister, number 24 prospect in Moises Chase, Matthew Etzel, and cash considerations. In return, Ryan, they got Sir Anthony Dominguez, who has 3 innings pitched, 4 Ks, no walks. He's looked good. Christian Pache, 1 for 1 in 3 games, and he's been DFA'd. Zach Eflin, 6 innings pitched, 10 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 7 Ks in 1 start. Trevor Rogers, 4 1/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 Ks in 1 start. Eloy Jimenez, 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Gregory Soto, 1/3 of an inning pitched, 3 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks. Austin Slater, 1 for 1 as a pinch hitter. And Levon Soto, who has been optioned to Norfolk. Now, Ryan, the pundits agree that the Orioles served themselves well at this trade deadline. Zips says they increased their World Series odds by 5.3%, which was more than double any other team. Jim Bowden of The Athletic gave them a B+ for their deadline moves. Andy McCullough listed them as his first in his group of winners of the deadline, stating, Baltimore got better. The rotation should benefit from the additions of Zach Eflin and Trevor Rogers. Sir Anthony Dominguez might get back to dominating late in games. Maybe Eloy Jimenez can play like it's 2022. Yet the team that was best situated to make a blockbuster trade did not do so. Mike Elias dipped into his pool of prospects, particularly in the Rogers trade, but did not empty the farm. That was probably the wise choice. The Orioles are still well situated for October. And Ken Rosenthal joined Glenn Clark Radio on Friday, and he said, when you have an opportunity to win the World Series, and the Orioles do, you have to honor that. They have done that with their transactions and with the way they've handled their players. So the big question, Ryan, do we agree? Do we agree that the Orioles have situated themselves well for October? That they've done that with their transactions and the way that they've handled their players? That they did the right moves to make themselves World Series contenders? I'll let you go first.
I agree that the Orioles got better. And I do believe that they are better situated to win a World Series than they were previously. I think they could have done more. I think they could have done better. And you look at the, in particular, the trade with Miami for Trevor Rogers. You give up Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers, both of whom are pretty highly regarded by Orioles fans. Maybe not as much by the scouting departments around the league. And there is a legitimate shot. And I believe in both of these guys, and I wish them nothing but success in Miami. I think it's BS that Norby was optioned to AAA from a team that doesn't have good players on it. It's one thing to be stuck in AAA when you're in the Orioles organization. It's another when you're with the Marlins. I think they are doing him very dirty right off the bat.
Well, I heard it's because they want him to play third base. So they
okay, yeah, all right, sure. Just give him a little work there. And there's a legitimate chance, despite the fact that, we're rooting for those guys and we think they have pretty good potential, there's a shot both of those guys are quad A type players. And when you think of it that way, it's not too much to give up for a young, controllable left-handed pitcher. Now, controllability is so overblown in trade discussions. Yes, Trevor Rogers is controllable, for 2 more years after this year. But we also just traded before last season for Cole Irvin, who was controllable for 4 years. And he just got DFA. Mm-hmm. So controllability doesn't matter if it's not a good pitcher. And there's nothing, you want to look at his rookie year stats in 2021. There's nothing to believe that Trevor Rogers is a good pitcher right now. Yes, he had given up, I think 3 runs or less than 3 runs in 8 of his last 9 starts before he was traded to Baltimore. He'd also given up a lot of traffic and had a very high left on base percentage during that time. And I have a friend of mine who is a Marlins fan and a very knowledgeable baseball fan. We played Dynasty League together. He coaches college. Smart guy. And I asked him to try to sell me on Trevor Rogers. And he said, I got nothing for you. And all the peripheral stats, when you look at his Baseball Savant page, all the, the predictive numbers, they're not good. And so there's not much there to believe that Trevor Rogers is going to be a difference maker. I don't necessarily believe that he is an upgrade over Cole Irvin. I don't think he's an upgrade over Dean Kramer. He might be a small upgrade over Albert Suarez, but even that I think is debatable at this point in time. I want him to succeed. I want him to be good. And I think there is that possibility that maybe we can unlock something in him that'll help him return to form. But I just don't see it right now. With that said, I don't think he's in a position to get a playoff start. I think it's pretty clear that is Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, and Zach Eflin. You may need a fourth starter at some point, depending on the situation of the series, and maybe Trevor Rogers is that guy, but he's not a huge difference maker. Now, when I look at the trade deadline as a whole, getting Zach Eflin for what they gave up, I think was very good. I think had they waited a few more days to try to acquire a Zach Eflin, you're going to have to give up a lot more based on the market.
Agreed.
We saw guys going for a lot more, closer to the deadline. So I think they did very well with the Zach Eflin trade. And Elias himself said that, he's worried that it's going to bite him in the butt with, a couple of the guys he gave up. But you have to make moves like that when you're competing for a World Series. Mm-hmm. And to make Zach Eflin your number 3 starter in a postseason series over a Dean Kramer or a Cole Irvin or an Albert Suarez, you have to do that. And they did. And so that, I think, is the big winner of the deadline for us. They upgraded their bullpen. I know Gregory Soto had a rough outing last night, but I think the stuff is there. If he can figure out how to throw strikes, the Orioles have succeeded in helping guys like that, both Dominguez and Soto, who, look at Felix Bautista, look at Yennier Cano, even Jacob Webb. They've gotten the most out of guys who have good stuff and, just need to hone in on the command. So I'm hoping that, they follow a similar trajectory to those guys. The outfielder moves, Eloy Jimenez, Austin Slater, I don't really get. You just traded Austin Hayes, and then you're not really upgrading that spot. But maybe Eloy is going to unlock something. Maybe he needed a change of scenery. I don't know. What I do know is that he can't play the field, and that he's a DH only as a result. And we've got too many guys currently in the DH rotation for me to be okay with giving Eloy Jimenez a roster spot to start at DH against lefties, which seems like that's what he's going to do for now. I don't understand that. I don't get it. And same with Austin Slater, guy who historically has been good against lefties, but this year just hasn't been the answer to anything. He'll go on a Linsanity run once in a while where he hits like 4 homers in a week and then goes back to a pumpkin immediately. So the outfielder moves don't really do anything for me. I do agree with optioning Kjerstad to AAA. I think the talent is there, but he hasn't been right since he got hit in the head. I think they're just sending him down for a reset, try to get right mentally, get a little more comfortable in the box. He'll be back up in a couple weeks, I believe. But all in all, I know I was a little bit, but all in all, I do agree to answer your question that the Orioles got better and positioned themselves better to win a World Series. However, they could have done more, and that's magnified by last night Blake Snell throwing a no-hitter as a guy who we were both very interested in. I'm a huge Blake Snell fan. He had 15 strikeouts his last time out, and then last night goes out and then throws a no-hitter.
While striking out 11.
That's a guy I would have loved to see come to Baltimore at the deadline. Mm-hmm. So when you think of it that way and the things they could have done, it's a disappointing trade deadline. However, if you look at the moves they actually made, they did position themselves better for a postseason run, in my opinion.
Yeah, the team got better. I don't think that there's any doubt that the team got better. I guess that what I was looking for, and a lot of people were looking for, was for the team to get over the hump. For the team, because they've been playing bad baseball for 6 weeks. And we've been waiting for them to get over the hump. And every time it seemed like they lost 5 in a row, and then they won 4 in a row. Then they lost 5 in a row, and I think they won 3 in a row. And now they won 4 or 5, and now they've lost 2 in a row. And you're just kind of looking for something to get them back to being consistent. Back to, look, they were never going to play 700 ball all year, but winning series, they won that series against the Blue Jays, but I think they lost like 5 straight series before that. That's been the frustrating thing. So when I look at this trade deadline, the trade for Trevor Rogers, I hated it. I still hate it. And it's not because I thought that you should be able to get more for Connor Norby, so much as I just didn't want Trevor Rogers. When I looked at Trevor Rogers earlier this year, I thought to myself, if the Orioles could trade like a mid to low level prospect and get him into their system, put him in the, I don't know if they can put him in the minors or not. I don't know like what his options look like or anything like that. But like, he's also like a former rookie of the year or finished second in rookie of the year. Like, he hasn't been bad enough to send him to the minors, but I would take him, but not for Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers. Now look, Kyle Stowers has 1 hit in 12 at bats and 8 strikeouts since going to the Marlins. And like you said, Norby is in AAA. So from that aspect, it right now doesn't look like the Orioles got fleeced in that deal. But the fact of the matter is Trevor Rogers has only you can look at it from the good of things. In 13 starts from May 15th through July 26th, he had a 3.42 ERA. Or you can look at it from the bad. He's gone 6 innings or more in a start 4 times this year. And they all happened in a 5-start stretch in June. Which he hasn't gone 6 innings since June. Right? Like, to me, Trevor Rogers, what he did the other night is more in line with who I believe him to be than the guy who had a 3.42 ERA for 13 starts. And then, like you said, a lot of traffic and not a lot of innings. His average start during that 13-game stretch was like 5 1/3 innings. Yeah. And that's only because he had 4 starts in the month of June where he went 6 or more. Really, it seemed like for the majority of the starts, it was 5 innings pitched.
Yeah.
It just, for me, that's not, and like you said, 2 years of team control, that doesn't mean anything to me if the guy's going to pitch to a 4.5 ERA. You already have Dean Kramer. Like, he's left-handed Dean Kramer. And Kramer has been such a disappointment to me since coming back.
And who is left-handed Dean Kramer? It's Cole Irvin, right? We already had that guy, and you just gave up 2 of your better prospects for another version of him.
I think Cole Irvin's been far worse over the last two plus months, but
more recently, yes, yeah.
But yeah, like you already had that guy, and you just DFA'd him. Sir Anthony Dominguez, he's looked the part so far. I have no issues with him. Gregory Soto, I mean, they gave Brian Rocchio, is that his name, Brian Rocchio?
Rocchio, I think, yeah.
Rocchio. They gave him an infield single on that bunt yesterday. That was a fielder's choice. Like, he tried to get the out at third base. Just take the out at first. It was like he was safe by a good bit. Take the out at first. That's one. Then they had the infield drawn in, and it's a ground ball that would have been fielded by Gunnar if he had been positioned normally. That allowed 2 runs to score. And yeah, he walked 3 guys or 2 guys, gave up 3 hits, but 2 of those 3 hits both should have been outs, realistically speaking. I'm willing to give him another shot. It's his first time with the new ball club in a situation where it was a fairly high leverage situation. They ended up scoring 4 runs. The difference in the game was 4 runs. I'm willing to give him another look. Eloy Jimenez, I don't understand at all, especially if you're not going to play him. Although I think he's going to play today. We'll get into that a little bit later. I like the Zach Eflin move. I do. Austin Slater, I don't get that either. Like, you traded Austin. I know the Phillies have wanted Austin Hayes for 3 years, so I get that. You got a solid back end reliever out of it, but Austin Slater is essentially Austin Hayes. So, but maybe even a little worse. So to me, I don't. All in all, I don't, and I really don't like trading, even if it's just cash considerations. I don't like trading for a guy that you DFA'd twice already this year. Like Levi Soto, you already had him twice, and you DFA'd him, and then you traded for him again. Like, I don't need that. All in all, like they're fine. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I wanted to come out of this deadline saying the Orioles are back, but I'm coming out of this deadline saying, I guess what they did was fine.
If you asked me before the Cleveland series, I might have said we're back. The vibes were excellent. Jackson Holliday had just hit his first career home run. It was a grand slam. The Orioles took 3 out of 4 from the Blue Jays. Things were feeling good. And then we get a Coby Mayo call up, and it's like, all right, we're turning a corner. Things are good. And the last 2 games have just been nightmarish.
That comes with playing Cleveland, because that's just always happens when the Orioles play Cleveland. And I can acknowledge that too. They are just snake bitten when it comes to playing the Guardians. I don't know if it's still called Jacobs Field, but I'm going to call it Jacobs Field because I don't know what the actual name of it is anymore.
Progressive
Field. It's Jacobs Field. Anyway, The Orioles' all-time record here, I think they have like the lowest winning percentage in history of any visiting team in any ballpark.
Oh, cool.
at that ballpark.
Awesome.
They are just god awful.
And we gotta play 4 there this year.
Yeah. 2 more games
while
there.
The best record in the American League.
Yeah. 2 more games there. This team can get back on track. We just saw all these guys make their first appearances for the ball club. I mean, if Eflin goes out and dominates today and Burns goes out and dominates tomorrow, then Grayson goes out and dominates on Monday or Tuesday. I don't know if they have. I think that they play on Monday.
They have off on Monday.
They have off on Monday.
Yeah.
If these guys get a nice, and the starting pitcher builds off the previous starting pitcher a lot when they get up and running. If they can start putting together, stacking some quality starts, the offense can see, these guys are going out there and getting the job done. Because I don't think it's a coincidence that their starting pitching goes down and then all of a sudden their hitters start pressing, trying to do more. They can get back on track. I believe that this team can get back on track. They have way too much talent. But Ryan, it brings me to this. Jackson Holliday got hosed 2 nights ago on a pitch that was the furthest pitch off the plate that I think I've ever seen called for a strike, aside from the Angel Hernandez called strike 3 when Joe Nathan picked up the save for Texas. You know what I'm talking about, where the ball landed in the other batter's box?
Yeah, the one where even Joe Nathan said, wow.
It went, wow, yeah. That pitch,
was like his 400th career save or something. 300.
That pitch 2 nights ago was so far off the plate. It was a complete hose job. I've never seen, aside from that Joe Nathan pitch, a pitch that far off the plate called for a strike. And then last night, it happens again. And it also happens to Adley last night. You see the frustration on Jackson Holliday. Holliday looks there after the strikeout last night, and he just goes, like he was dumbfounded. And
he threw a hand up.
You knew he wanted to say something, but that he also knew that, he's 20 years old. He can't, right?
Yeah.
Adley was adamant about it. You don't really see Adley get too animated. He was fairly animated as far as Adley Rutschman is concerned on that strike 3 call on him. Brandon Hyde did nothing.
Yeah.
Brandon Hyde did.
Sat in the dugout.
He just sat there with that look. I can't wait to get home and get my vodka. I don't know if he's a drinker or not, but Brandon Hyde.
He seems like a Scotch drinker to me.
Brandon Hyde did absolutely nothing. He did absolutely nothing. And look, I just learned today that it's a $10,000 to $20,000 fine for every ejection. So I didn't know that, but whatever, dude. If you're going to get ejected, why not do it when your 20-year-old phenom second baseman has been hosed on 2 of the worst strike calls ever? Back-to-back nights, and then your star catcher, who is hitting 125 over the last 6 weeks, something along those lines, he gets hosed too. Why not now? Your team is getting their throats stepped on by a team that they're going to have to face in October if they want to go to the World Series. And you're just going to sit there and not speak up. Maybe you don't have to get tossed, but you got to get vocal. You've got to get vocal. And he doesn't do anything. A lot of fans think that he should have been demonstrative about it last night. A few fans think it's a stupid mindset. Do you think that Brandon Hyde should be more demonstrative and more vocal when his team is playing bad baseball and getting hosed on calls that aren't close?
Yeah, absolutely. You want a guy who, and look, we've talked a lot about Brandon Hyde, and the one thing that's always been positive when we talk about Hyde is his ability to, help out the clubhouse culture. And the fact that his guys clearly love him and he clearly loves his guys. You got to show it, brother. Mm-hmm. I understand you might not want to go out and get yourself ejected, but yeah, especially when the team's been in a rut and you're consistently getting screwed by the umpires. Yeah, you got to say something. You can't just sit there with a dumbfounded look on your face and be like, well, it's all right. We'll try again next time. No, you got dude, make a statement. At least chirp a little bit from the dugout. You have to. Mm-hmm. And the people that think it's kind of a dumb mindset, I understand it. You're not going to get the umpire to change his mind. You're not going to really make anything happen if you argue. But like, this is baseball, man. There's human error in this game, and when it's the umpires who aren't even playing the game who are impacting it, you gotta say something. You have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you absolutely have to say something, if for no other reason. It shows your team that you're willing to fight.
Yeah.
It shows your team that you're not just going to lay down and take this crap. And it's a team that right now, yeah, they just won 4 or 5, but they've been playing bad baseball. They've been playing, a lot of these guys are playing the worst baseball that they've ever experienced. When you think about it, you think about how young this roster is. You think about the talent on this roster. AAA, the Norfolk Tides won the national AAA championship last year. They won the national AAA championship last year. And now these guys are at the major league level on a team that's 5 games under 500 over the last 7 weeks. Like, this team is really, really struggling right now. These guys are playing losing baseball for the first time in likely their entire lives. And it's easy to get down. It's easy over the course of 162 games when you're playing every single day and your body's tired and you probably got scrapes and nicks and bruises. It's easy to kind of mail it in when things aren't going your way. And you've got to be able to show your team, we ain't mailing shit in. Let's get out there and let's play our butts off. And I'm not going to sit here and let anybody on my team get taken advantage of because they're 20 years old and they're new to the big leagues. I'm not going to stand for this. Show a pulse, man. Show a pulse.
And look, Adley Rutschman's taken his lumps over the course of his career. He's had a couple slumps here and there. He's never struggled like this. Gunnar Henderson said so himself in an interview last week. He's never struggled like this. And those are your top 2 guys, right? Those are the 2 centerpieces of this franchise. And if it's not going to be Brandon Hyde who's going to light a fire under this team, and we thought maybe, when Kjerstad got hit in the head and he tried to fight the Yankees bench, we're like, all right, maybe that's the spark we need. And then Holliday gets called up, maybe that's the spark we need. Mayo gets called up, maybe that's the spark we need. And it just hasn't happened. Who among the players needs to step up and have either a closed doors meeting or just yell at a couple guys in the dugout? Not to yell at them, but to get them fired up. Do we need Cedric Mullins to step up and do something? Does Anthony Santander need to call these guys into a closed room? Does it need to be Adley? Is he too young to want to take on that role at this point? I think someone's got to step up and be like, hey, we're better than this. Let's show it.
For all we know, they have, and it just hasn't worked.
Right? Maybe.
But to me, that's not Adley's personality, right?
No, it's not. And someone's got to step up as a leader.
And it's not really Santander's personality.
Right. But do you need that? Do we need a Rougned Odor on this team?
I think it's Gunner's personality. I think that Gunner's got to be the one. It's got to be Gunner, or I'll give you a name you didn't mention. Ryan O'Hearn.
Sure.
Ryan O'Hearn or Gunnar Henderson has one of those 2 guys has got to, or James McCann.
He should have done it.
James McCann
between games of the doubleheader.
I just took, and that's the thing though. They won 4 or 5.
Yeah.
They won 3 or 4 in that series. Like James McCann, I took 95 miles an hour off the bridge of my nose and stayed in the ball game with one eye closed. And you guys are going to go out there and you're going to lay an egg the first 2 games of the series against Cleveland. Look, maybe it can't be the backup catcher. Maybe it can't. To me, first and foremost, it's got to be Gunnar Henderson. This is his team. This is Gunner's team. Yeah. Adley, is Adley. He was maybe the most important pick of the rebuild, right? But this is Gunner's team. It's got to be him. And then I can see Ryan O'Hearn because he's a veteran. He's kind of that guy that's like, you just kind of look at Ryan O'Hearn, you're like, that dude's a badass. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's got to, in my opinion, it's got to be one of those 2 or James McCann, but I think it's hard coming from the backup catcher.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
It's
just the feeling of like, when you see a team in a stretch like this, where a lot of guys are struggling at the same time, it just kind of makes you think like, who is this team lacking that veteran leadership that they need to make a sustained run into the postseason? And we don't know if they're missing that or not. I don't think. Like you said, they could have had a closed doors meeting at some point over the last month and a half. And someone, whether it's Gunnar, whether it's McCann, whether it's Corbin Burns, whether Danny Coulomb shows up and is like, hey, I know I've been gone for a little bit, but what the hell are we doing? Mm-hmm. Someone's got to step up, and I'd like to see, something like that, I guess.
And that's the other issue. That's why, like, you need a veteran presence on a ball club, because these are all really young guys, and even guys in their third seasons like Adley and Gunnar, and like, they're not really veterans. You know what I mean? You need a veteran presence who's an everyday presence, not a backup catcher, but somebody who's an everyday presence. It should be Anthony Santander. He just kind of seems happy-go-lucky, lovable to me. Maybe he's got a little bit of that fire in him too that we don't see behind closed doors. But it's got to be one of those guys, or like you said, a Cedric Bones. But I think you've got to produce the results on the field first before you know what I mean. But both of those guys can be like, look, we sat through 100 lost seasons to get to this point, and we're squandering it.
I got some fuel Mullins could use, even if maybe he's not the guy performance wise to do it. Hey guys, my best friend just got traded. Like, let's prove the team that they didn't screw this up.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's something's got to give here. They're just playing bad baseball, and if they even play 500 baseball over the next, if they go 9-8 over the next, they're still sub 500 for a third of the season. That's not a recipe for a championship. And I'm on record as saying that I think that the spark this team needs is to fire Brandon Hyde. And for me, I just think that he's not doing what he needs. And I don't want to turn this into a Brandon Hyde hate fest, but to me, like, you want to send a message to your team, show them that their on the field play got their manager fired. The way you guys play got your manager fired. How do you feel about that? And see what that does to a team, because I don't think he's the guy anyway. And if he's got to be the scapegoat and he's got to be the sacrificial lamb for this team to get back on track, I'm all for, because I don't think he should be here anyway. So
you know what makes that, it magnifies it even more for me, and this could lead into a whole nother conversation, but I just want to bring it up briefly. We have no idea what Brandon Hyde's contract looks like, and we have no idea what Mike Elias' contract looks like.
None.
We knew that they were signed through 2022 or 2023, and then we knew that they stuck around. There was some kind of extension. We don't know. We don't know if his contract is up at the end of this year or if we have him for as long as we have Trevor Rogers. We have no clue. It's tough to figure out, what kind of leash this guy has.
So let me ask you something. You look at the Cleveland Guardians roster. Look at their roster. All right, top to bottom, excluding the bullpen. Okay, the bullpen's ridiculous. Are they better? Do they have a better roster than the Orioles starting rotation and position players?
No, but you can't exclude the bullpen.
Well, right. You can't exclude the bullpen, but the bullpen's not the reason that the Orioles lost 10-2 and 8-4.
No, it's not. You're absolutely right.
Right. Can do you look at that team and look who's in the dugout for them? Stephen Vogt, who was playing 2 years ago. And he's managing that ball club, and they have the best record in the American. I think they have the best record in baseball.
They do, yeah, because Philly's lost, I think, 12 of 16.
Yeah,
Stephen Vogt was a guy who, his whole career was like, this guy'd be an awesome manager, and now he's managing a team that, they have a great bullpen. It's worlds better than any other bullpen in baseball right now. But it's not the most talented team, top to bottom. I mean,
right.
There's several holes in their lineup. There's still, Austin Hedges is their catcher. He's hitting like $150. They don't have the firepower that the Orioles have, and yet they're a really good baseball team.
Yeah.
And Stephen Vogt is without a doubt the American League Manager of the Year this year. I don't think there should be any question about that.
It's not particularly close. And you look at Stephen Vogt managing that ball club, and you look at Brandon Hyde managing this ball club, and I think there's a distinct difference. Yeah. I think that there's a distinct difference. And look, again, I don't want to turn this into another Brandon Hyde hate fest, because that was a rage-filled hate fest last week. We don't need to do that again. But you want to send a message to this team. They'll get it loud and clear if you fire their manager because they've been playing such poor baseball for a month and a half. That's my opinion on the matter. My other opinion is that you need to go out and get the press box print issue, because there's just 2 weeks left to pick up this print issue of Press Box, where on the cover, Maryland Governor Wes Moore sits down with Press Box to discuss the sports topics that have been significant to his administration, including the stadium and grounds lease for the Orioles, the future of horse racing in the state, and much more. Also, this is our annual travel issue with information about sports tourism opportunities throughout the state that you and your family can take advantage of this summer. You can find the Press Box print issue all throughout the region, including at 60 rural farm stores, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Ryan, let's toss one up for a little bit of soft toss.
Yeah, I want to talk about the scene surrounding Jackson Holliday's first career home run. You already mentioned that we crossed paths at the game on Wednesday afternoon. You were headed back to your seat, I believe. I was headed from my seat out to the flag court with my glove. I was hoping to maybe catch Jackson Holliday's first career homer. Man, just what an absolute scene. I was out there on the flag court. You know, I've never caught a home run in a game before. I caught a couple foul balls, but I always thought it'd be cool to catch a homer. And so I'm thinking, you know, what about Jackson Holliday's first career homer? That'd be awesome, right? Aside from wanting to catch a home run, having the opportunity to give that ball to Jackson and meet him would have been pretty awesome. And I had it. I was close. You can see me in the videos. I was kind of near the back of the flag court, and I beat the crowd to Utah Street. And I had the carom played off the warehouse, and it just happened to take a different bounce off of somebody, and I missed it by 5 to 10 feet. Almost lost my reversible floppy hat in the process. But I want to say, if it wasn't me, because I did want to catch it, obviously, that'd be an awesome thing. The father and son who did come up with the baseball, what a cool moment for a father and son to have that experience of getting to meet Jackson Holliday, hand his first career home run to him. I think they accepted a signed bat and a baseball card from him. And just the whole experience was awesome. And I just wanted to point out that, you know, if I couldn't catch it, I'm glad they did, right? And I'm sure as hell glad it wasn't Zach Campbell, right? But a really cool moment for them, a really cool moment for Jackson. Congratulations to Jackson on hitting his first career home run. What an awesome, awesome shot. I thought I had him played pretty well. I was hanging out in the back of the flag court. I'm like, he's not going over my head. There's no shot. And then he hits the ball, and I wasn't even close. It was just an absolute moonshot. Just an awesome moment. And the crowd around you could see the flood of people running to try to get the ball. And, you know, the father who came up with it had it holding up and was jumping around. There were like 50 Orioles fans around him, like cheering and chanting, and just a really, really cool moment. And then the representative coming over to mark Utah Street. I was able to get a picture of that, and the crowd of people around it just watching him, you know, color in the circle and JH number 7. What a really, really cool moment to be a part of. And congrats to Jackson Holliday. It's the first of many.
Yeah, it was a cool scene. It was definitely a cool. I was so glad to be sitting where I was sitting. Like, I took a picture. So I wasn't going back to my seat. I was going to my seat. I got down around Camden Yards by 11:40. Actually, it was 11:36 when I got to Camden Yards in my car. I got off on the Russell Street exit, and it was backed up like it always is. And I was like, there's no way. I was like, I don't want to park on the opposite side of M&T Bank Stadium. So I decided to go through the city and go to where I normally go to park. Traffic through the city was horrendous. When I got to the Marriott garage and I pulled in, they didn't have any signs to say how much it was. And I said, how much is it? He goes, $50. I said, nope, I'm not paying $50 to park here. So he was like, all right, well, back up. And I was like, I can't just, like, you can just watch me. Can I just drive around and come back? He's like, no, you got to back up. So he made like a bunch of other cars back up so that I could back up. It was a whole thing. I'm not paying $50 to go to a Wednesday afternoon baseball game. Not doing it. So then I drive through the stadium, and I'm like, maybe I'll just go, you know what, screw it. I'll just go park on the other side of the Ravens Stadium. I'll go to the team lot. I get to it takes 30 minutes. Literally, it took me about an hour and a half to finally park my car. It took me 30 minutes to get from the Marriott back to Camden Yards. And they're right across the street from each other. I get to where you go to park in the stadium lots, and the woman was like, we're completely full. And I was like, she's like, you got to go drive through the stadium, through the city. I was like, I just spent 45 minutes doing that. And she starts yelling at me. And I was like, all right, you don't got to yell at me. And she goes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell. That's neither here nor there. So I had to drive back through the stadium, ended up parking someplace for $40, but it was like right across the street from the stadium. So spent $40 for parking. I didn't get in until the bottom of the second inning. I got down there at 11. I got down there an hour before first pitch, and I didn't get into the stadium to my seat until the bottom of the second inning, where I did get a nice picture of Jackson Holliday in the on-deck circle, and then a nice picture of the field. And then I got a nice video of Jackson crossing home plate after his grand slam. I do have a few questions before I do that. If you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Ken Rosenthal, Mike Bordick, and Navy football coach Brian Newberry, you can find all of those chats and more in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature right now at PressBoxOnline.com. And you can watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or right here on Facebook or YouTube. Couple of questions for you regarding the Jackson Holliday home run.
Sure.
Did you see it off the bat?
Pretty quickly, yeah. I didn't have a view of the batter's box, but as soon as I heard the crack of the bat, I saw the ball and immediately turned and started running backwards.
So you heard the crack of the bat, and you're like, oh my, you just knew by the sound and by the reaction.
Yeah, I saw the ball. I was like, that's over my head. I could tell that immediately. And I think that's why I beat the crowd over to Utah Street. And like I said, man, I had the bounce played, and I'm still a little salty. I think I could have done a little better to come up with the ball. But, like I said in Soft Toss, just a really cool moment for that father and son. And I'm so glad they got to experience it.
I did see, as I was leaving the game, I saw a crowd of people around the mark on Utah Street just taking pictures of it. Like, it was a solid 40 people.
It was constant throughout the rest of the game. Yeah.
I
was hanging out on the flight court a bit because I wanted to lay down and take a selfie with it, which I was able to do at the end of the game, but I was waiting for a window and it never appeared. So eventually I was like, all right, I just got to wait with the rest of the people.
My other question is, if you had gotten the ball, what would you have asked for?
All right, so I actually did think about this a lot. 3 things. Well, 2 things really. Number 1, I just want to hand him the ball myself. That's the most important thing for me. I don't think I would have asked for any kind of graciously accepted anything he was willing to trade for it, whether it was a signed bat, signed ball, whatever. But I don't think I would have asked for any of that. The one thing I would have asked for, and this has been a dream of mine since I was a little kid, I would ask if the team would let me throw out a ceremonial first pitch at a game. That's all I really wanted.
They would have said no. They would
Probably.
have said no.
But they also, I am a Birdland member, and they do let Birdland members do it once in a while. So
they do.
Yeah, I don't know what the qualifications are, but that would have been my one request. I want to throw out a ceremonial first pitch. I don't care if it's at another afternoon game with 10,000 people or a Friday night with 45,000. I just want to throw out a ceremonial first pitch and be able to say I threw a pitch at Camden Yards.
That's pretty cool. I don't know that I would have wanted memorabilia. I think that I would have wanted to hand him the ball. Wow, my voice is just cracking nonstop this morning. I would have wanted to hand him the ball, but I also, do you think that I could have gotten them to let me, if it had been me, if I could have gotten them to let me shag fly balls during batting practice?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I've always wanted to do that.
Maybe.
I've always wanted to go out there and just shag fly balls with the team for the extent of Orioles batting practice.
That would be really cool and a very interesting request. I don't know, man. I don't know if they would grant that because of liability issues, unless they have like an easy waiver you could sign or something like that.
Oh, I would sign any waiver they gave.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Or maybe take batting, maybe be allowed to like take one round of batting practice
I can't hit. I'd be lucky to clear the infield. So that wouldn't be on my list, but I can see the appeal of that for sure. I don't know, man. I used to shag fly balls during batting practice down at Bowie when I was a bat boy there in 2016. I may have told this story before, but there was one day when Henry Urrutia was there, I called him off on a fly ball during BP, and then the other bat boy pulled me aside. He's like, "Hey man, they're trying to get work in. Like, he's tracking fly balls. Don't do that." And I was like, Henry, I'm sorry. And he was cool. Henry's the nicest guy on the planet. But shagging at a professional baseball field is really fun. So that's interesting. That hadn't crossed my mind, but that'd be an interesting request.
Did I ever tell you that I called Henry Urrutia's first and only career home run and the manner in which he would hit it?
No.
I was at a game with my buddy. It was August. I think it was August 18th, 2015. It was against the Mets. Noah Syndergaard started the game. And I said before the game that Adam Jones, Jonathan Scope, Chris Davis, and Henry Urrutia were going deep in that game. And I think the other three, I think Davis was actually the only one that didn't go deep. But Urrutia hadn't yet. And it's the 7th inning. And the Orioles were like fighting. They're coming back. And I was like, that's two right now of the 4. And Adam goes, well, when's Urrutia going to hit his? And I said, bottom of the 9th, walk off. And then he hits a bottom of the 9th walk-off home run to the opposite field for his only career home run. I told Adam it was happening in the 7th inning, and it happened. It was pretty cool. I had no inclination it was actually going to happen, but it was pretty cool nonetheless. All right, we're running behind. Today's show brought to you by we'll get to that in a little bit. We only have one read left. We'll get back to it in a little bit. Time for our AL East wrap. A very nice job with Soft Toss. That was a good one. I really enjoyed that. AL East wrap up. Aaron Judge eclipsed 40 home runs and 100 RBI with a 2-run shot in the first inning. And the suddenly red-hot Anthony Volpe added a 2-run shot of his own amongst his 3 hits. But it was the Blue Jays offense that shined brightest with 5 players collecting multi-hit performances, led by Ernie Clement, who doubled and drove in 3 as the Blue Jays took down the Yankees 8-5. Wilyer Abreu and Connor Wong combined for 7 hits, 5 runs, and 4 RBIs out of the 5-6 slots in the lineup. And 8 of 9 Red Sox batters collected hits, while all 9 starters either scored or drove in a run as Boston outslugged the Rangers 11-6. Corey Seager homered twice for Texas in the loss. And finally, Yusei Kikuchi debuted for the Astros and left his mark, though it didn't seem that mark would be good initially. As 6 pitches into the game, Kikuchi had given up a double and a 2-run homer to leave Houston trailing 2-0. Over the next 5 2/3 innings, he allowed just 1 more hit while striking out 11, including 8 in a row at one point. And the Astros scratched and clawed for 3 runs to take it 3-2 over the Rays. As for today's game, Zach Eflin makes his second Orioles start this evening with first pitch slated for 7:15. That game is on Fox. Eflin is 6-7 with a 4.11 ERA after allowing 3 runs on 7 hits over 6 innings. I'm sorry, 3 runs on 10 hits over 6 innings in his first Orioles start. In 5 July starts, Eflin went 2-2 with a 4.71 ERA, allowing 15 earned runs on 34 hits and 28 2/3 innings pitched, with just 6 walks and 25 strikeouts. Eflin has made 1 start versus the Guardians, coming last August 13th, when he went 3 innings, allowing 6 runs on 9 hits, taking the L in the 9-2 Tampa Bay loss at the Trop. It was his worst start of the entire 2023 season. Ryan, we talked about game scores in this space before. His game score for that game was 19.
Yeah, that's not great.
His next worst one was 25 about 5 weeks prior to that, or 5 starts prior to that. The Guardians countered left-handed pitcher Joey Cantillo. Cantillo made his first Major League start and appearance on July 28th when he took the no decision in the eventual 4-3 Cleveland win, allowing 3 runs on 3 walks and 3 hits, including 2 runs in just 3 1/3 innings pitched versus the Phillies. Cantillo is the Guardians' 9th-ranked prospect and 2nd-ranked pitching prospect in AAA this season. He was 1-1 with a 2.79 ERA in 8 games and 7 starts. Oh, and as for a possible lineup, I think this lineup is pretty accurate. Ryan, let me know what you think here.
I think it's accurate, but it's not pretty.
Yeah, it's Colton Cowser leading off playing center field, Anthony Santander batting second and right field, Gunnar Henderson batting third playing shortstop, Ryan Mountcastle batting fourth playing first base, Eloy Jimenez batting fifth DHing, James McCann batting sixth at catcher, Austin Slater batting 7th in left field. Coby Mayo batting 8th at third base. And Jackson Holliday batting 9th at second base. I think Mullins gets the day off. I think Rutschman gets the day off because they're facing the lefty. O'Hearn's obviously getting the day off. Jimenez going to get his first start. McCann back in there. And Austin Slater getting his first start because they want somebody athletic to play left field.
I can see the only thing that would make this lineup worse is starting Arias at second base over Holliday. But I mean, it's kind of the expected lineup. I would say. One thing we didn't talk about at all, by the way, Jordan Westburg, broken hand.
Oh man, I think it's a repressed memory for me, man.
Yeah, like what a massive loss for this team.
He is maybe my favorite player on the team. I love Jordan Westburg, man. Like Nick Markakis is maybe my all-time favorite Oriole, like all-time favorite Oriole, and Westburg has that Markakis vibe to him, and I just love the way he plays the game. And to see him get his hand broken and know that he's going to miss basically the rest of the regular season is just so gut-wrenching that like I've literally forced myself to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It was right before Holliday's grand slam too. The hit by pitch loaded the bases. Mm-hmm. I mean, gosh, just what a brutal loss. I think he was second on the team in WAR among position players. I don't know if it was Fangraphs or Baseball Reference WAR, but in any event, just that he's been one of the most consistent parts of this lineup, and just tough to see him go. I'm glad Mayo and Holliday are getting their shot, but not like this, man. It didn't have to be like this.
For sure, not like this. Mayo should have been here, but you wanted to see him get here because, I mean, he did earn it. Like, make no mistake, he earned it. Yeah. But you didn't want the call to finally come because your all-star third baseman broke his hand by getting hit by a pitch. Right. And by the way, it just look at the difference. And I get that it's Aaron Judge, but look at the difference between our reactions to James McCann getting hit in the face and the player reactions to James McCann getting hit in the face and Jordan Westburg breaking his hand and being basically done for the rest of the regular season, compared to the Yankees fans' reaction and Aaron Judge's reaction to being pitched high and tight. Yeah. Like, look at the stark difference.
They like to throw inside, says the team that has hit more batters than anybody else in baseball this year.
Right. All right.
Whatever.
All right, Ryan, what's on tap?
Yeah, the Orioles will wrap up their 4-game set in Cleveland tomorrow with a really fun pitching matchup, in my opinion. It'll be Corbin Burnes on the mound for the Orioles. He is 11-4 with a 2.47 ERA, which currently leads Major League Baseball. Tarek Skubal had a bit of a rough outing last night, so Corbin Burnes retook the American League lead and the Major League lead with his 2.47 ERA. It'll be Gavin Williams tomorrow for Cleveland. He, in less than a full season's worth of starts, has a career 3.41 ERA. He's shown flashes of excellence. I really, really, really like Gavin Williams, and I'm very much looking forward to the Corbin Burnes-Gavin Williams matchup tomorrow afternoon. After an off day Monday, the Orioles will continue their road trip with a pair of games north of the border against the Toronto Blue Jays. Then they'll head down south for another 4-game road series, this one in St. Petersburg against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Can you imagine if the Orioles had traded Jackson Holliday and Coby Mayo for Tarek Skubal? And then last night we would have had to watch him go 6 1/3 innings of 5-run ball.
Is that what he did?
With Levon Soto playing second base and Ramon Arias playing third base. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the shitstorm that would have come with that?
That would be nasty.
Even though I believe that Tarek Skubal is going to be a dog, right? That would have been the most. I may have deleted my Twitter account. I may have just deleted it and said, "Nope, I'm out. I'm done." Can you imagine if that had happened? Oh, thank God. Like, literally, that was a legitimate, real sigh of relief that didn't happen.
Yeah, thank God we didn't trade for that guy. That bum.
Oh, man. All right. Today's show brought to you by County Sports Zone. We're just a few weeks away from the start of high school sports season. County Sports Zone will be reporting every score from every event with every school at every level throughout the state, all academic year long. That's coming soon at countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All right, Ryan, take the rake. Much like last week, not even close.
I needed this one, Paul. I needed this one to keep the standings somewhat comfortable.
Ryan took Colton Cowser. I took Adley Rutschman, trying to manifest and will him into a hot streak. Cowser, 12 for 33, a double, 2 home runs, 5 ribeye steaks, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, a 364, 389, 576, 965 slash line. Adley Rutschman, 2 for 20. Wait, 2 for 23.
2 for 20 with 3 singles.
2 for 20, 2 singles, 1 RBI, 2 walks, 5 Ks, 150, 227, 150, 377 slash line. I must have accidentally hit the 3 instead of the 2.
You might just 3 for 20 would be 3 for 20 is a 150 average.
3 for 20. Yep, 3 for 20. So then I accidentally hit the 2 instead of the 3.
Yeah.
3 for 20. Ryan, you take it in a landslide. Who you got this week?
I took him a couple weeks ago, hoping that he'd get called up. He's finally here. Give me Coby Mayo, baby.
All right.
I like how you started typing his name before I even said it out loud. Although I did give you some pretty strong.
You gave me some easy hits. Golly.
It's not a short. We were talking. I think it's honestly it's our fault that Adley and Gunnar are struggling the way they are. Because a few weeks ago we said that Take to Rake was just going to be us flip flopping those 2 guys the rest of the season. They both stink right now.
We talked about the Orioles being the best team in baseball, and it immediately started their 16-21 stretch. Like literally the Thursday before that show was their 17-5 victory. They lost the next night 14-11. It was like they started playing piss poor baseball as soon as we called them the best team in baseball. Soon as we did that.
With that in mind, Cleveland, I think right now, clearly the best team in baseball.
Yeah, I think
the Orioles aren't very good. They'd be lucky to get one of these last 2 games.
I'm gonna take. Let's make it an all rookie thing. I'm gonna go Jackson Holliday.
Let's go. I love it.
Going to take Jackson. He looks really comfortable at the plate. I think he's getting a lot of confidence after. I mean, Emmanuel Clase is the best closer in baseball, and he turned a 100-mile-an-hour fastball into a base hit up the middle, a scorched base hit up the middle last night. Could have gone Colton Cowser, could have gone Gunnar Henderson. Cowser, I think he's going to cool off here soon. He has 3 Ks in 2 of his last 3 games. And Gunnar, that Gunner's going to get hot. Yeah. Right. You know it's coming. I have to see the signs of it. And every time I think I see the sign where he laces a double into the gap or something, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Gunnar is going to get hot. I hope it starts today, but I'm going to take Holliday because I just think Holliday is comfortable. I think that he's got a lot of confidence right now. So I'm taking Jackson Holliday.
Mayo and Holliday on Take to Rake. I could not love that anymore. Let's hope this time next week we're trying to determine who's the winner over a couple 1,000 OP.
Right. That's and the Orioles going 5-1 over that stretch.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. 7-1. All right. Speaking of Holliday, Randall says ball hit the line and Holliday got robbed. I saw it in real time. It hit the line. Every replay I saw showed that the ball hit the line, but New York is going to do what New York does, and they didn't think so. So, Adit said, doesn't tennis and soccer use something like VAR? Could have been helpful on Jackson's foul ball. Also, the umpires need to stop hazing him. Stevie Wonder would call some of the strikes as balls. Yeah, those are the 2 strike 3 calls on him in this series have been so egregiously bad. Like I'm telling you, I have never seen pitches that far out being called strikes in my entire life, aside from Joe Nathan.
Yeah, it was brutal. To his point about VAR, I don't watch a lot of tennis, but I see the challenges that happen did the ball, was it in or out? And within seconds, they show exactly where it landed on the ground. Mm-hmm. I have no reason to believe that's not damn near a perfect system. You said it. We have hundreds of cameras in the stadium. How do we not have an angle that clearly shows whether a ball was fair or foul? It just, I don't get it.
And those lines are permanent in tennis. The lines are permanent. Why not make the outfield lines permanent in baseball?
Yeah.
Like I get that that there's chalk and it's like this is baseball and it's like a scene, right? But like, just make them permanent.
It's not even chalk anymore; it's paint.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, they do chalk around home plate, but the lines on the grass are painted on.
Yeah, but then the lines that go down the line, you always see chalk come up when the ball hits the line.
I don't know. My tarp crew experience was they painted on the grass and chalked on the dirt.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like when you see it down the line, I'm talking about in the dirt area. It's it's definitely paint on the grass. I'm talking about in the dirt area, down the line, like towards when you start getting towards the warning track and all that. But like the line on the wall was permanent. They should have that VAR technology.
Yeah.
All right, Adit. If Mayo is successful, Jimmy's could a Coby Mayo burger and milk combo for Coby and Colton. Yeah, I think it would have to be a burger and a milkshake.
I was talking with Megan last night. We need to create a meal that's it's taters with mayo and a glass of milk on the side.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be.
We need more players with food nicknames.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a milkshake though.
Yeah,
but go to Royal Farms and Royal Farms should definitely do something with chicken.
Yeah.
The Colton cows with chicken box, something like that. Rogers trade was horrible, and I think he meant to say as expected, or maybe he did mean and expected. I hated it.
Yeah, it just we talked about it before. Just you give up two prospects that we view has high potential, and you get a guy who it seemed like we kind of already had in Cole Irvin. We said that the team control is kind of overrated if the pitcher's not all that good. Look, I trust the scouting department, the Major League scouting department. I believe that they see something in Rogers that they think they can unlock. I just hope they can actually unlock it, and that his rookie year was not a flash in the pan. Because
I trust them to write him in the off season and in spring training. I don't trust them to make this happen on the fly in the last 2 months of the season. And that was my like I would love to have him be like a guy who they can revitalize in the off season and through spring training, since he's going to be here for 2 years. I have no issue with that. I have an issue with him being the guy to get you over the hump this season. Yeah. It's the exact same way that I felt about Michael Lorenzen. I didn't want him last year because he was already past his career high in innings, which he had set 6 years or 5 years prior. And now I'd be totally okay with him because he threw 153 innings last year. That easily ramps up to 185 this year, and he's having a really good year. I feel the same way about Trevor Rogers. Don't like him at this deadline, but I will take him with what they can do with him, working with him throughout the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Daniel says, I am shocked that Cole Irvin cleared waivers and was sent to Norfolk. We just gave up Norby and Stowers for an Irvin clone. Yeah. Can Cole decline the assignment?
I think if he had, we would have known by now. I don't know. I don't think he has. I think you need 5 years of service time to decline an outright option.
Right.
So I don't think he has that right just yet. But he did. I'm shocked that he cleared waivers as well. But I'm glad we kept him around, I suppose.
I mean, he has been completely gasoline on a dumpster fire for the last 2 months. So yeah. I guess I'm not totally surprised. But Daniel also said, what is going on with Gunnar? Is a home run derby jinx actually real? He's just not driving the ball, man.
Bobby Witt Jr. just had one of the best months of all time. His batting average in July was higher than anybody else's on-base percentage. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's insane. I did not realize that. Like, I knew he had a great month, and I know that he is one of 3 active players right now. Not active as in, but like he's one of 3 players in all baseball right now that has an OPS over 1,000 this year.
Yeah,
and he's the leading hitter in the majors.
He hit, I think, 489 in the month of July.
That's crazy.
And the power is there. The home run derby, and Jose Ramirez is still in homers. Pete Alonso is still in like Teoscar Hernandez is hitting homers. No, if it is a jinx, it's an entirely mental thing. And we're seeing it with Gunnar on offense and defense right now. I don't think it has anything to do with the home run derby.
I think it has everything to do with Gunnar being a young player who believes that this is his team. And he's trying to put him on his back, and I think it's just a young player trying to do too much.
He's trying to be the MVP.
You saw Bryce Harper in 2012 and 2013 kind of do something similar, where like he's running through walls and he's hitting the bat off a wall and it's hitting him in the face and stuff like that. Like where he's trying to be the team. Yeah. And, it ended up turning into a 2015 MVP for Bryce Harper when he figured it all out. I think Gunner's still figuring out the mental aspect of the game and realizing you can only do what you can do. You can't win the game for the team. And I think once he realizes that and once he calms himself down and stops trying, they always say you're trying to do too much. Once he stops trying to do too much, those homers are going to come back. The defense is going to come back. And people that keep trying to tell me Gunner has the yips. First and foremost, the yips is a throwing thing. The yips is not a fielding thing. It is a throwing thing.
Yeah.
It is a Steve Sachs, Chuck Knobloch type of thing where you cannot make the throw. Yeah. Gunner's issue, he's had some bad throws, but Gunner's issue is not fielding the ball on tough hops, not making a good throw. Yeah. If he had the yips, you wouldn't see him make three of every four. I think it's probably more than that, but you wouldn't see him make solid throw after solid throw.
Yeah, and the throws that have been wild and the throwing errors that he has committed have been on plays where he's trying to throw the ball 110 miles an hour because it's going to be a bang-bang play.
Exactly, he's rushing.
So it's hard to really fault him for that. He's trying to make the play. It was the same thing with the walk-off error in Pittsburgh. That was a play where he needed to get that out at first to end the game. The tying run had already crossed the plate, and the winning run was rounding third base. He had to try as hard as possible to make that out. And it just wasn't an accurate throw. That's not the yips. That's just trying to do a little bit too much.
Yep. Same thing with the bat.
Yep.
Randall says, O's improved BP bullpen, plugged a hole in starting rotation, but failed to bring in another frontline starter they needed to advance in the postseason. Rogers doesn't have a D in it. Rogers can do the sporting numbers. Can't do that sporting the numbers he has. They weren't going to get a top of the rotation starter. And when it came out that the Giants were pulling Snell off the trading block, unless they were blown away with a package, you're not giving that up for a rental because he's going to opt out. And you're not, most people think that they're not paying Burns in the offseason. They're certainly not going to pay Burns and Snell, and they're not going to pay Snell over Burns, if that makes sense. And we're already seeing now you need Jackson Holliday and you need Coby Mayo here because of injuries and ineffectiveness from the players on your team. We were like that. If they had made a trade of the magnitude that we're talking about, we're watching Levon Soto play second base and Ramon Arias play third base last night. That's what we would have seen for the Baltimore Orioles last night. So, they didn't get that front. I didn't need them to get a front line. Go get Chris Bassett. Yeah. I didn't need a frontline starter.
If we're being realistic, I think the biggest benefit to the Trevor Rogers acquisition is it moves Albert Suarez to the bullpen, where I think he's going to be a lot more effective.
Which, by the way, and I understand why Brandon Hyde did it, so I'm not actually coming at Brandon Hyde for this, but it's like, let's move Suarez to the bullpen just to use him the same way we've been using him, where he's going to throw multiple innings and throw 45, 55 pitches in a game. Like, he's better in the seventh inning.
Yeah.
Like, he comes in, in the seventh inning, he bridges the gap from your starter to your back end. Not the guy who comes in, to mop up after your starter gave you 3 or 4 innings. But because he's stretched out, that was his role, and they just DFA'd Corbin. That was his role, and I understand that. But, I hated seeing him being used that way.
Yeah. Give me a 1-inning Albert Suarez where you can pump 97 to 98. Right. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Speaking of name misspellings, Buster Olney's trade deadline article, he had Austin Hayes spelled Hayes.
Oh, my God.
That just drives me up a wall. How many times do we see players? It's on the back of his jersey. We watch him every day. Mm-hmm. There's no E. There's never been an E. Why do we think there's an E?
I don't know. Daniel Pitts, according to Fangraphs, Trevor Rogers has 3 minor league options remaining, so he could go. Good. Not that I think that they should have sent him down or would have, but to me, he's more of a project starter than a guy who's going to get you over the hump. He's closer. And he's not even a project star, but to me, he's closer to that than he is the guy who's going to get you over that championship hump. And that's my overall point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, also, regarding the Hayes misspelling, again, my best friend who knows how to spell Austin Hayes' name, he one time sent me Hayes' name with an E on it. I'm wondering if people's phones autocorrect to Hayes with an E.
Maybe, but this is an ESPN article that was passed through I don't know how many editors. I don't understand it. I get it if you're tweeting and you're used to Brian Hayes has an E, right? Like Aaron Rodgers has a D. I understand those kind of misspellings, but when it's an article on ESPN.com, figure it out.
There's a lot of there's a lot of doom and gloom fans, and I've been accused of being doom and gloom. I'm not doom and gloom. I've never said the Orioles aren't going to make the playoffs or anything like that. But I have said that like the stuff that we're seeing, you could see coming, right? Like if you're paying attention, you watch this team as closely as guys like Ryan and I watch, you can see stuff like this coming, right? And then when it happens, again, we don't want to sit here and say, I told you so. That's not what we're doing. It's like we saw this coming. If we saw it coming, the front office and the manager should have seen this coming, and they should have taken preventative measures or done something to make this not happen, right? So when Daniel says, I feel like the way this team has been playing lately, playoffs aren't a certainty. I mean, there's two things in life that are certain, right? There's two guarantees in life. But let's look at the MLB standings right now, and I don't feel like trying to figure that out on my computer, so I'll just pull up the standings right now.
I would say it's certainly not a certainty.
Right.
And said it that way.
So currently the Orioles are listed as leading the American League East and being the top wild card spot. Same thing with the Yankees. The Orioles are 3.5 games up. I mean, I guess it's not a certainty, but I mean, they'd have to have an epic collapse.
Yeah.
Like an epic. I mean, playing 500 ball the rest of the way will get this team to 91 wins, and that should get them into the postseason.
It should.
Right? That should get them into the postseason. Hopefully they can play a little bit better than I haven't taken a look at their schedule. But I mean, the next closest wild card team is Kansas City, and the Orioles took 4 of 6 in the season series. The Orioles hold the tiebreaker. So really they're a game and a half behind the Orioles in the wild card instead of a half game. Or I'm sorry, 3 games back. So really they're 4 games back of the Orioles in the wild card rather than, 3 games back because the Orioles hold the tiebreaker. I don't see these teams catching them, and it also really depends on who plays who down the rest of the way.
That's true. And the first team out in the playoffs right now is Boston. The Orioles are 5.5 games up on them and have already taken 5 of 6. They have 7 more games against Boston the rest of the way, but they're in the driver's seat for that tiebreaker. And like you said, I think it would take a pretty epic collapse. And we know the corner is going to be turned eventually. We know that this team is too talented to continue playing this way. I'd be stunned if they don't make the postseason.
Yeah, I would be absolutely shocked. And look, if you want Brandon Hyde out of here, that'll get him out of here. That'll get him. But I don't want him to get fired because the Orioles missed the playoffs. I want him to get fired because he's not a good manager. The Back It Up Binge podcast. Question: do you think Hyde needs to work the umps a bit after those 2 bad strike calls on Holliday? You must not follow me on Twitter. Or on X. Sorry, Elon, on X. Because last night I said, let me see here. I need Hyde after Holliday got rung up. I need Hyde toss there. That's 2 nights in a row his young player has been hosed on terrible strike 3 calls. Jackson isn't going to say anything, so Hyde needs to. And then after Adley's strikeout, I said, and there's Brendan Hyde's corpse, pulseless, just not doing a damn thing to ignite a spark for his team as they get boned time and again by this umpire. So yes, I think Hyde needs to work the umps a bit after these 2 bad strike calls on Holliday and also the one on Adley Rutschman. 100% believe that that's the case. Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I have nothing to add. I think you nailed it with your tweets there, or your X's, your posts.
My X posts. Do you think Elon is like a porn freak or something that he just wants to call everything he does X?
Maybe.
Because he's been wanting to apparently he wanted to call a bunch of different things X, and then he finally bought Twitter and was able to call something X. But that's weird. What? I don't know.
Knows,
X.
man.
I'm never gonna call it that.
He made likes private, so he's hiding something.
Yeah. Ryan, did you see Zach Campbell? Daniel says, Ryan, did you see Zach Campbell at the game? That would have been so disgusting if he had gotten that ball.
Yeah, I did not see Hampel at the game. I saw a few people who said that, I guess someone responded to me and said that they saw a picture of him out there. I was out there for each of Jackson's first 3 at-bats and then some. I did not see Zach Campbell. There's another ball hawk who kind of resembles him, I guess, but is not him. He didn't come up with the ball either. But I personally did not see Zach. But I agree that it would have sucked if he had been the one to that ball.
How does this guy just end up at all these games?
I don't know.
It's crazy. Rodgers may have, Adit says, Rodgers may have been a guy Mike wanted to draft in the first round in 2017. Trevor was taking 2 picks before Houston. Maybe.
We've seen Elias grab a lot of the guys that he used to have a crush on back in the day. So
none bigger than rear ears. Do you remember that? Rear ears.
There was that one specific play. It was like I don't even remember what happened. I just remember the Masson camera was on second base and Garceau just in the background. Rears. Yeah, that was fun. What an era of Orioles baseball. And what an era of Orioles Twitter, too. It was better back then. I'm not going to
lie. Somebody else said that. I'm not going to name her, but she's like, I like the Orioles Twitter a lot better when this team sucked. It felt like we were all in this together. And with heightened expectations comes like a lot of disappointment and a lot of negativity. And like social media is soul sucking, man. It just is. It is absolutely soul sucking. I get caught up in it because like I watch a lot of these games by myself, right? Like, and I want to talk to somebody. And like, so like when my buddy texts, like that's cool because then like I can text with him. He's on a cruise right now. You know, and my wife's upstairs with the baby. They usually go to bed by 8:30. So like I'm watching a lot of games by myself and I just want to like get my feelings out to somebody. It ends up being the poor folks on Twitter who think I'm just a big negative Nancy. When really I'm just like, I just want my team to be good. I just want my team to win a World Series, you know?
And I agree 100% that Orioles Twitter was worlds better when we sucked, man. It's because when we won, it was hilarious because we could make fun of the other teams. And when we lost, it was like, well, we have each other, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like we all expect to be World Series champions in the next year or two. And it just, like you said, it's sucked the life out of me. I hardly post anymore when we're losing because I don't want to do. There's relentless like doom and gloom reply guys who just will constantly just bitch about everything. And it's so exhausting, man. So I don't have the energy. We lose, I'm staying off Twitter for the sake of my mental health because I don't want to see these people who are constantly like complaining about everything. I'm talking about people who specifically do that in replies to other people.
I know exactly who you're talking about. And like a lot of like these same people reply to me and they'll say, this team doesn't know how to win when in clutch situations. This team will never win a World Series. This team is going to miss the playoffs, and it's just nonstop. And I'm like, man, people think I'm this person.
Yeah,
and I don't want people to think I'm this person because I know I'm not this person.
And
like I'm mad because I know how good this team is, and they're underperforming. You know.
And the other thing with like the type of people we're talking about is they love to call the team unserious. Like, wait, you think they don't care? You think they're not actively trying to get better and not actively trying to win? Do you think Elias is holding Mayo at AAA because he doesn't want to win?
I did call the team unserious with the trade for Trevor Rodgers.
That's kind of fair, but like, I don't know. In general, it's like we put. You have a game where Arias is in the starting lineup. It's like Hyde is unserious about winning. It's like, dude, you gotta get him in the lineup once in a while. Like, I don't know.
If he's on the roster, he's gonna play. If he's on, like the fact that Christian Pache never started kind of blew my mind. Like I didn't want him to, but like the fact that he never did. I'm telling you, the way that this roster is being played right now, I have no doubts that Mike Elias went to Brandon Hyde and said, these are the guys that I want you playing now. This is the lineup we want more often than not. If you got to play Arias once or twice a week, do that. But this is the lineup that we want 5 days a week. I have no doubts because the lineup construction has been vastly different in the last 10 days. Vastly different.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yeah. I typed up the lineup I wanted to see yesterday before they announced. We had heard the night before from Rock and Andy Koska that Coby Mayo was joining the team. But it was like 3:00 and the Orioles hadn't made that announcement yet. So it was like, is he just on the taxi squad? Like, did travel not go well or something? Like, what's going on? And I typed out the exact lineup that the Orioles posted last night. and said, "This is what I want to see," and then I didn't hit send. And then the lineup was posted like a half an hour later, and it was exactly what I had typed out. And I was like, missed opportunity to call my shot. But I had Adley in the 5. I had, Mayo and Holliday down at the bottom there. It's good to see them play the young guys. That's what we want. And hopefully that continues, and these guys can get on an actual role and establish themselves as big league regulars.
I really think that they are. I think that this team is going to turn a corner here shortly. I think that like all the moving parts are still getting settled. You've added these guys in. I think that Zach Eflin's going to be really good for this team down the stretch.
I do too.
I like Grayson. I think Corbin Burns is Corbin Burns. I think with Mayo and Holliday at the bottom of the order, once they start getting even more confidence, and Adley and Gunnar aren't going to not hit forever. Like that sounds weird. I think you would have to slow this down and listen to me say that 4 times to understand what I just said. But they're both gonna start hitting again.
Yeah.
And I think that this team is gonna turn a corner here, and we're gonna see them play some nice baseball. Maybe over the last 6-7 weeks of the season when it really, really starts to matter that much more. And I'm really looking forward to that. I have a lot of confidence that this team is about to turn a corner here. Just get the hell out of Cleveland. I just hate playing Cleveland. It makes everything look so much worse because Cleveland's just that damn good.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see them again until October when the Orioles are beating them in the ALCS in 7 games.
Yeah, I hope we don't see them in the ALCS. Their bullpen, despite the shortcomings of the rest of their roster, their bullpen is just disgusting.
Yeah.
The Orioles have been able to push across a couple runs on them, but they haven't been using their best guys the last couple nights either.
Final comment before we get out of here because it's so good. Adit says Scott Van Pelt and Tim Kirkjian now have another name to say in the Baltimore accent. We go Coby Mayo. Coby Mayo, hon.
Is Coby Mayo better than Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco.
It's so close, man.
It's so close.
It's so close, hon.
Oh, man.
Coby Mayo.
I don't know, hon. It could be Coby Mayo and Joe Flacco in the all-time Baltimore sports name Hall of Fame. Joe Flacco, Coby Mayo, Ostros, and Natty Bose, hon.
Well, we said the day that Mayo was drafted that his name was perfect for the Baltimore accent. I'm so glad he has panned out as a prospect that we now have him in the majors and can beat that point home because Coby Mayo is way too fun to say.
Reason 1A, you couldn't trade him. Same reason 1A why Joe Flacco got all that money after winning the Super Bowl because you can't get rid of Joe Flacco. Yeah. All right. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thank you to all of our loyal fans, listeners, viewers. Without you, we certainly do not have a show. Orioles are going to right this ship, folks. It's coming. It's starting with a win today. I can feel it in my bones. Zach Eflin giving the Orioles 7 innings, a 2-run ball tonight. You heard it here first. Until next week.
7 innings, a 1-run ball.
All right. 7 innings, a 1-run ball. Orioles lose 1-0.